Welcome in to another edition of the Sports Edge podcast. I'm your host and Commissioner Dan Stanzik. Happy to have two-time SDFFL champ Justin the Guru Eisner alongside. Plenty to get to tonight, Guru, including some over-unders. How are we feeling tonight?
Feeling okay. Maybe not as good as last week. Got easily beaten this week. We'll get to that a little bit later. But a little tough sledding for the Guru.
It's been a rough go for you the last couple of weeks here. I mean, you got to win in an embarrassing fashion last week.
Yeah.
You scored 20 or so more points this week, but you were still like bottom of the barrel in scoring in the league. It was a big week in scoring too.
Maybe next year when we do the schedule draw, maybe I can get Hoban a couple more times. Is that possible? That would be nice.
We do face each other. We have the battle of the pod this week, so we will definitely get to that. But first, let's recap the Week 8 action as you alluded to. Walk This Way, managed by pod nemesis Steve Curtis, held on for dear life, eked out a 2-point win over the champs this week. George Pickens seemingly had 2 touchdowns that would have swung the matchup, but he was called back. One was called back for a penalty. Other was deemed out of bounds on, even though he got the same foot inbounds twice. Ruled incomplete. In the past 5 plus seasons, we have all won at least one game by 5 points or less. Which manager, a little Sports Edge trivia for you here, which manager do you think has won the most such games? So Steve beat Zans by 2 points. The past 5 plus years, we have all won at least once by less than 5. Who do you think has won the most such games?
Tried to be a little logical about this. I didn't think it was me, but I figured it had to be somebody that's won a lot of games over the last 5 years, right? Because you got to win to be in this column. So I don't know. I went with Pete.
Pete is tied for second. Him, Walsh, and Zans have each won 5 times by less than 5 points in the past 5 plus seasons. You were actually in last. You've only done it twice. I mean, technically, Cass has only done it once, hasn't been in the league for the duration there. If you count his franchise, I think they are still more than you. You are last place with 2 such wins. Only 2 close wins for the Guru. The leader has 9. So there's a 4-win gap between the leader and the 3 guys tied for second place. Robbie Goddati, 9 times in the past 5 plus years, has won a game by 5 points or less.
That's a big number. 9
is huge. Huge. Startling number. For what it's worth, half Steve, Hoban, and I have each won 4 times by 5 points or less. 2 straight weeks where the second highest scorer has come away with a loss. This time it was yours truly. Couldn't get 18 points from Malik Neighbors on Monday night to put us past George's Giants. Pete earns the $25 reward, which reminds me I have to Venmo him, for scoring the weekly high. This marks 5 straight seasons in which Pete has led the league in scoring at least once. Guru, technically, it's not the active record because someone has a longer streak that simply has not yet been extended this season. Any guesses as to who has that record and what the number is?
All right, so my guess is me because I know that I have not won this year yet, and I feel like I've won most years, so I feel like that was a good educated guess. So maybe we start there. Am I the answer to the question?
So I was going to mention this at the last question. This is 2 in a row Sports Edge trivia for you. You didn't guess yourself in the last question. You normally do guess yourself.
I know,
and more often than not, it does end up being you. And this time, the correct answer is the Guru.
All right, good.
You have registered a weekly high in a record 14 straight seasons, dating back to 2010.
I would have guessed like 8 or 9. That would have probably been my guess when you. Yeah. I had a feeling it might be me because I knew that I didn't have it this year, and you alluded to that in the clue. So I'm getting a pretty good. I'm getting better at Sports Edge trivia over the years.
I know. This is. I watch a lot of Knicks games. There's actually one going on right now. And they do a lot of trivia questions, and Walt Clyde Frazier is the analyst. They ask him who the answer are, and they always try to stump him when the answer is him. I feel like I'm trying to do the same thing to you just by watching this so much. But your streak dates back to the days where I was sending $20 in the mail and making up fake addresses to confuse your wife. I would send imaginary football headquarters because that's what she used to call this league, correct?
That was actually my mother-in-law referred to fantasy football as either imaginary or imagination football. She had the word wrong, and it caught on in the Eisner Church family as being very funny, and we called it that.
I like it. I leaned right into that, as I am wont to do. But we move on here. Similarly, the Sal Chiacho Memorial All-Stars Monday night comeback fell just over 3 points short against the Sun God's disciples. So that's another win for Hathaway in that column. Hathaway, he took a page out of Hoban's book, started two tight ends in a victory. Evan Engram and Tucker Kraft both scored 10 or more points. So kudos, can't believe I'm saying this, kudos to Hath for executing a Hoban strategy and getting a win. Kess finally cracked 100 points and lost. The Doc is one of four managers who have lost when they've scored their highest point total of the year. Hoban, the Commish, Robbie are the others. But Guru, let me ask you this. If you had to swap rosters with either team going forward, would you take Kess's team or Hathaway's team?
So, as usual with a lot of your question stands, like I read the questions in my prep and think this is going to be an easy answer. And then I go look at it and I'm like, this is a good question. This is not an easy answer. So I went in thinking this has to be Hathaway, right? He was a preseason top roster for us. And then I looked at it and I was like, this is actually closer than I thought. Now I'm still going to pick Hathaway. So not being overly controversial with this one. I just think that there's a little more depth. But if you look at Kess, I mean, he's got Caleb Williams, which is interesting, right? He's got Brian Thomas Jr. that I like, Puka. There's some pieces there for sure. Hathaway, I just felt like a little bit deeper, right? CD, Amon-Ra, McConkey. He's still got Brooks from you on the IR. He's got Ayuk. I think there's like the high end is good on both sides. I think the sort of middle talent is a little bit deeper with Hathaway. I'd rather start with that kind of pool of depth than I would with Kess, but it was way closer than I thought it was going to be.
It's very close. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. The way I did it is in terms of like top five assets. And for Hathaway, it's like he's got CD Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like those are probably two of the best assets you're going to get. Then I got David Montgomery, Jonathan Brooks, and then either Lad McConkey or Brendan Ayuk. Probably Ayuk's fit there. For Cass, I got Purdy as one of his top assets. You didn't mention Purdy. Purdy's like a top five quarterback.
I'm still
People
not a
don't think
Purdy
he's
fan.
great. I think Purdy's really good. He also has Puka Nakua, who's awesome,
Yeah.
Devon Achan, Brian Thomas Jr., who alluded to, and Josh Jacobs. So it's a pretty even top five. You could sway me in either direction there, but I
I think
think
the big difference for me, I think, over you there is that I'm still not a Brock Purdy believer, and I'm also not a big Devon Achane guy.
yeah,
Uh, so
yeah.
I think that changes it for me. If you believe them the way that most people do, I think I'm probably in the minority. Then you're right; it's really close.
I think you do still have to lean CD Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown as like the
Okay.
proven top guys,
Yeah.
but you're not going wrong with Puka and Brian Thomas Jr. as your wide receivers going forward. We move on though. Gives me more took care of Bowers Castle in the lowest scoring matchup of the week. Hoban has now dropped 7 straight contests. We're gonna go to the Wayback Machine, way back to last year when we started this podcast. We're gonna pop you back into Guru's garage and see how Hoban can fix things going forward. So, Guru, if you were Hoban, how would you turn things around? Obviously, with a focus on next season, because this season is clearly lost.
What's the max roster limit for number of tight ends? I might recommend maybe a few more tight ends on that roster. Look, I'm going to be honest with you, Stans. Like I looked at this, okay, and I think when you think about the Guru's garage, what do you think? You think about bringing the car in and fixing the car, right? The car in this case being the roster. We're very good with our metaphors
I
here.
thought that was going to be a Derek pun or Derek Carr pun there, and
No,
I was
no,
like, I
no,
don't think he's on Hoban's roster. So
it
thankfully, you
wasn't.
avoided that.
Yeah, I did. But here, I think fixing the car. I think it's just as much about fixing the driver here,
Oh
Stan.
boy.
I
Oh, I
hate
see
to
where this
go
is
at
going.
Hoban. I love him.
Oh
I want to
no.
give you a little trivia question here, Stanzik.
Oh no.
All
Okay.
right. So today, we made a move. We being Mr. Hoban. He picked up Dalton Schultz for $1 off waivers. That happened over the waiver transaction period overnight, right? This morning.
hmm
When was his last transaction prior to October 30th, which is today?
Okay. So I'm not going to go any further. I just pulled up the league homepage. I see that he has made 6 moves, and you told me he made a move today. I'm going to say his last move was in week 3.
Yeah, I don't have the week in front of me, but I can tell you that it was September 27th.
Oh, it feels like week 4.
Okay, so it has been an
It's been
entire
over a
month,
month. Over a month.
entire month.
That tracks.
It's
Yeah.
his last move. Now, if we're going to really fix a team like this, what do we need to do? We need to go after every random flyer of a guy that has a breakout week and just add him, right? And hope one of them turns into something. Whatever receiver happens to fall into the end zone that week, pick them up, right? We'll go Dumb and Dumber style. Pick them up, right? Let's go. Get them into the and so that's where I'm like, I think, oh man, we got to just keep turning this roster over. The bottom five on this roster should change every week. Every week I'd pick the next five guys up and drop the bottom five and try to find one or two keepers over the course of the year from that. So that's the first thing. I think it's not a quick fix. We got to figure that out. The other thing I'll say is some of it might be a little bit luck. Stanzik, like he's got a lot of kind of backup-ish running backs. The minute one of those guys starters get hurt, dump that guy for somebody will pay for him. Right.
Yeah.
So hopefully you almost have to, do a little praying here. You don't want to pray for injuries, but I think in this case, if we can get some of these starters hurt or one of them could be a good opportunity to make those moves. But at the end of the day, I think more ad drops is my advice for Hoban in this situation.
I hope Hoban's listening. We appreciate the
I hope he's
the
not. I want to
download.
ad drop guys. Don't
He's
go ahead and stop.
he's a subscriber to the YouTube feed,
We
so
love you,
I
Hoban.
assure
We
you
gotta
he
make
is
more moves
watching.
here, buddy. We love you.
Hopefully he can turn things around. Last game to recap, Walsh reclaimed the top spot in the league with a 40 plus point thrashing of you, Guru, behind the three-headed monster of, can't believe I'm saying this, James Cook, Bijan Robinson, and Kyle Pitts, who all scored more than 20 points. We're going to spin this forward, though. Guru, you faced my team this week in the battle for the pod, as we mentioned at the top. Yahoo, I think I talked about this last year. Yahoo forces me to make at least 1 week of the season, quote unquote, rivalry week for whatever reason. And so I chose this week. And I think I chose this week because we have Pete and Hoban playing in the Burrito Bowl. We have Hath and Steve, who are old housemates. They face off. Same for Robbie and Zan's high school friends, lived together in college. Lastly, we have Kess and Walsh, and there really isn't much of a rivalry there at all. So you can put them at 5. But why don't you rank the other 4 in terms of rivalry?
Yeah, perfect. So number 4, I gave these all a name, by the way.
Oh, good.
I think
I'm
only
excited to hear them.
appropriate that Hath Steve coming forth in the podcast Whipping Boy Bowl. I feel like
Wow.
nobody gets more slack than these two on our podcast standings. So I feel like that could be
It's
maybe the
good.
name of that bowl game,
Good.
the
Yeah.
podcast Whipping Boy Bowl. Now I think 2 and 3 is arguable. I think it's a toss up. So it's between you and I in the pod bowl. I don't know what else we would call that besides the pod bowl. And then we have Robbie and Zans in the Big Fucking Nice Bowl. I think that has to be the name of the bowl game there. I'll put them at 2 and us at 3 just because we tend to rank ourselves too high in these things. And then obviously we've had a name for the Burrito Bowl sponsored by La Salsa for
Wow.
forever, right? So I think that has to be number 1. If you have a name for your rivalry and it's been going on for more than me just making it up on today's podcast, it's got to be high on the rankings.
I love it. I love it. I just want to double check something quickly that I feel like I should have done beforehand, but I did not. I feel like Zans and Robbie played 2 very close matchups last year. No, they did not. They weren't close at all. They were both blowouts, but one team won, one team. They went 1-1 against each other last year, both in blowouts. But I don't disagree with those rankings. I think those rankings were perfectly fine. I feel like we give Hoban too much credit in this podcast for how terrible of a team he is, but we will just.
Yeah, but he's entertaining. He's in these he's in these entertaining matchups.
That's true. That's true. We will move right along. It's Halloween when most of you are watching this because we are currently taping this at 10 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, October 30th. So most of you, assuming I even put this together tonight, most of you or all of you will be watching this once it is Halloween or past Halloween. So we got to dive right in. I asked you to rank some things or to answer some Halloween-related questions. We're going to start with candy. We may have done this in the past. I don't care. But give me your top 5 candies. Yep. And you asked a follow-up question after I sent you this. And I said you can interpret this however you want to. But give me your top 5 candies, 5-1. I also have a ranking as well.
All right, I broke them into 2 categories.
Wow.
Categories are like so. I'm a big chocolate person. So
okay.
If you're going to ask me for candy, everything's going to have chocolate.
My top 5 are all chocolate.
All right. Well, I felt like I should have a non-chocolate category because there's so many important candies that we need to rank. So let's go non-chocolate first, since we both have chocolate ones.
Yeah.
And then go there. So non-chocolate, I got at 5. I got Jolly Ranchers. Jolly Ranchers,
love it.
Good one. That tends to be a good Halloween one as well.
Give me a good watermelon one. I'm on board.
Yep. Number 4, I got Skittles. I got
Sure.
Skittles at 4. That might be controversial. We probably have Skittles a little bit higher, but I got it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a Skittles guy. I can get
All
down
right.
with that.
I got Swedish Fish at 3.
Oh, the worst. The
Oh, you're not a
worst.
Swedish
Get
Fish
them the
guy.
hell off your list.
Okay. Number 2, I got Sour Patch Kids.
Okay, back on
And
track.
number 1, I don't think is arguable. It's Starburst. I think if you're going non-chocolate, Starburst is king.
It's a great list, but Swedish Fish, they all taste the same. Like, how are they on this list?
I don't know. I could argue them moving down the list, but I still think they're top 5 for me in a non-chocolate world.
Get them the hell off.
All right.
I'll give you my top five, and then we can end with your top five chocolate
Yeah.
ranks. Off the board a little bit for me. Number five, Charleston Chew, had a lot as a kid on vacation. Kind of a nostalgic pick there. Number four, 100 grand. Didn't even know about this one until probably the past decade. Love them. I
Okay.
could see people not really jiving with them, but for whatever reason hits my palate. I'm all on board. Number three, very popular, Snickers for me. Put it ahead of the Milky Way and the Three Musketeers. Number two is Reese's, but it's not the peanut butter cups. The
Okay.
cups would be outside the top five. Number two is the Reese's, and it is any holiday shaped Reese's.
Okay.
So if you got the pumpkin or the ghost or the Christmas trees or whatever it is,
The eggs
the
on
Easter
Easter
egg,
and
yeah,
good.
the
Yeah.
the the
Yep.
Halloween, the holiday themed. My wife actually recently picked up. There is a white chocolate ghost with peanut butter
Okay.
inside. Ooh,
Yeah.
very good. And number one for me, of course, is Twix. They're all Twix. It was a
Oh,
setup.
Twix. How did I not pull that off with this
Come
shit?
on.
Twix, Twix,
I
Twix,
almost
Twix.
read Twix five times,
Yeah, that
but
would have been a great, great
punchline
call.
was
Great
there.
call. All right, we got some crossover,
Okay.
some not. So at number 5 for me, I've got Kit Kats.
Nice. Kit Kats
No,
used to be on my list. I think they've slipped a little bit, but I love
I think
love a
it's a
good Kit Kat.
good, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Holiday
Yeah.
candy. Number 4, I had Twix as well. Got
Nice.
to get Twix on the list. It has to be there. Number 3 might be controversial. Now, this is the one that I like at movies as well.
Ooh.
It's the Bunch of Crunch. So not the Crunch bars, but when they break them up,
Oh,
then they're the little Bunch of Crunch bars in the circles. Fantastic. Big fan of it.
okay. I didn't know that existed. I used to like a good crunch ice cream bar.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, back in the day.
Same family. Same family.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2. Now, I've recently switched to these. So not Reese's Pieces, but peanut butter M&Ms.
Wow. I
They are
do like
better.
peanut butter M&Ms.
They are better.
Yes,
So if you
dangerous.
go take, A/B test there, the peanut butter M&Ms
Yeah.
went all day long over the Reese's Pieces.
I tell my wife, you put those out, I will eat them all. Do not
Yeah.
do it. Do not put them out.
Fantastic.
They are too good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great
Shame on
interplay.
me for not having them on the
Put those
list.
on
They're
the
too
list.
good.
All right. And then number 1 for me, it's a no doubt of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
There you go.
Now, I didn't think about doing what you did, which you're right. They are far superior, the holiday treats over the actual
I
cups.
think
They're
it's
way
because
more
it's
meat.
all
They're more meat.
soft.
Yeah.
I think the hardness of the cup kind of ruins
Oh,
it
and
a
it's
little
almost
bit.
like it's like the double stuffed Oreo. There's tons of stuff in those
Yeah.
eggs, those
Yeah.
Santas and all those things. Yeah. So that's a good call, but I went straight down the middle, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, fastball number 1.
I love it. We are going to get back to some fantasy analysis coming up. We're going to do a little
Maybe
over
not.
under, but we are going to linger on Halloween for a while. I
Yeah.
asked you to tell me what your favorite Halloween costume of all time was.
Yeah. So I've not dressed up all that many times for Halloween. So it was a short list to pick from. So we're gonna go through this. Hopefully we're gonna be able to edit some video or some pictures in here
Don't doubt my video editing
I'm
skills
not.
here.
I'm
Okay.
not. I'm not. So interesting story here is that I'm not a huge Halloween guy. Obviously, like everybody loved it in college. I mean, there was no better. It was arguably, and in the early Facebook days, which was our college career, there was the number one Facebook holiday of the year was November 1st. Getting all the pictures uploaded of everybody's Halloween outfits from the previous day. I mean, it was a don't go to class holiday and just scroll on Facebook. But that aside, not a huge
Let me just interject quickly because
yeah.
I know some of these pictures you're going to bring up. I know that the first picture you and your wife were ever in together was a Halloween photo in the grape.
It was. So we're going to
Because
talk about
I follow your wife
that.
on social media, and I believe she posts it every year.
She does. She does. So
Okay.
you'll look forward. So everyone that follows her on social media, be ready
Or
to
watches this podcast. You're going to see
yeah.
it.
Yeah, you will get the story on her probably Instagram tomorrow. I think she's gotten rid of Facebook over the years, but so let's talk about that as maybe number 1 potential favorite Halloween costume. The boys in Townhouse 125 went with the Village People theme for our holiday Halloween party junior year. I was the cowboy and I was wearing all women's clothing. Fun fact, the jacket that you're seeing in this picture, because I trust Stanzik's skills that the picture is going to be showing here in post-production. That is the jacket of recently mentioned on this podcast, Jamie Coleman, now Jamie Amadeo. That is her
Wow.
jacket that was given to me to wear to that Halloween party. I believe it was her hat as well, and I bought the other stuff at some sort of thrift
Whose
situation, but
jeans?
all women's clothing,
Including the jeans?
including the jeans. Those are women's jeans that I'm wearing in that picture.
Whose
I don't know
jeans
what
are
size,
those?
but I have no idea.
Wow.
My favorite
The
story
only thing I'm
though,
going to say about this photo before you go on is we
yeah,
got
go
too
ahead.
much Mike Falzone leg. Just
I mean,
way too much.
is it too much though?
It's
I
too
don't know.
much Mike
I don't know.
Falzone leg.
It's fantastic. Something that we would have all been canceled for many times
Yeah.
these days. But the two stories from that night are we threw a lot of people's favorite party of college that night was our Halloween party, and we bought a fog machine because we were going to be like it was going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Set the fog machine off. People came to our house pretty early, as you guys might remember. When you were coming up to the townhouses, the later you waited to do that, the more likely you were to get caught by some sort of campus security. And so a lot of the younger hockey guys that were bringing their friends up and stuff like that, they wanted to come up early. So we let them come up. It was like 7:30, 8 o'clock. It was really early for a college
It's like
party.
my
And so
bedtime these days.
the party got started, fog machine got turned on. At like 8:30, the fog machine sets off the fire alarm.
Oh boy.
Big problem. We had to get everybody out of the house because we knew campus security was going to come. We had to, put everything away. We tried to hide everything. We turned the fog machine off. Obviously, we got everyone out of the house. And so campus security shows up, knocks on the door. Well, 2 minutes before they show up, when you see this picture, I don't know how many of you know him, but the cop in the picture is Mikey Dunas, who is a hometown friend of Bill Dwyer's, which is how we all got connected to him in college. He answers the door for campus security in the gay cop outfit.
Hang
And
on. You keep saying campus security. Wasn't this it wasn't the senior year?
oh, it was junior year. It was
This
junior
is
year
junior year. Okay.
townhouses. We were in the townhouses.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, he has the foresight to quickly turn the stove on and throw a piece of bacon on a pan, then open the door in his cop outfit to the police, to the campus security, and tells them, "Hey, look, we set the fire alarm. This bacon, we burnt this bacon." And they just said, "Okay," and they left. And then
Wow.
got
Heady
everybody
play.
back in the house and continued on and had a party the whole night and got away with it. Mikey in the cop outfit answering for campus security, claiming to burn bacon. Fantastic story.
Amen. Good for him. That's excellent.
And maybe created the whole Eisner family because later that night in the post that you'll see tomorrow, I met MT for the first time. We didn't actually talk, which is actually pretty funny. She got invited because of James. She came over. She walked downstairs. Someone said, I handed her a beer. I was like giving people beer. I handed her a beer. Her friend said, take a picture. We turned around, took a picture. We didn't talk the rest of the night. So kind of a funny story. We didn't reconnect till later, but we literally have the picture from the first
You
moment.
gave her a Keystone Light, as I can see in this photo, and
We're
you're
big
also
on
holding a
pizza.
rope in
The
your
rope is
hand.
my lasso. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. All
So that might
right.
be my favorite Halloween costume. You'll see a couple of pictures here. Like I said, I've only dressed up a couple times. One was Rex Ryan. That was at a Dwyer Renzi Halloween party post college when they lived above Crentis, the dentist. And they were Office fans, and they that they lived above in Jersey City, Crentis. My only good story from that night was a chick showed up that I didn't know. I was already pretty drunk, and she was dressed as a referee. And so when she walked in, I just started screaming at her, pretending to be Rex Ryan as if she made a better
Yeah.
call. It didn't go over well. Wasn't funny, but that happened.
Yeah.
More recently, we dressed up as Roy Kent and Keeley
It's
from
excellent.
so,
Yeah.
see my Roy Kent outfit. And then kind of an asterisk one here, if you remember Powder Puff, which was kind of around Halloween, but wasn't Halloween. Burge, myself, and Ty did a little Ditka homage in our coaching outfit. So I've got the vest, sweater
It would have
vest.
been nice if you had the mustache to go with that,
Yeah, I
but
didn't have the mustache. Wasn't mad enough for that. As a kid, my best costume I remember was being the Ultimate Warrior.
nice.
Had the whole face paint and everything going. That's the only one I remember as a kid. But
Look at
guys,
you.
those are my only Halloween costumes that I ever dressed up as. It's like four.
Not bad though. Not bad. That's a good list.
Yeah.
One I think I've referenced before. Post college, I don't think I've done Halloween much. But one time I did go to a party at Greg Ryusi old housemate of mine. His birthday's Halloween, so he always loves it. And I showed up. I'm not the type that would like buy a costume in advance. So I was trying to think of a unique costume I could wear. I probably told you this before, but I wore sweatpants, sweatshirt, gray, and put a black garbage bag over that sweatpants and brought a football. And I was like, someone better know who I am. If they don't, I don't want to talk to them anyway. You clearly don't know who I
I
was.
don't think I do off the top of my
I
head.
was Bradley Cooper from Silver Linings Playbook.
I have
One of
not.
my one of my personal favorites. But as I think of childhood, I know I was Rudy as a young kid.
That's a
Go
good
Notre
one.
Dame, go Irish, and full shoulder pads and everything. I was also Zorro. Did you ever watch the show Zorro? He
I
was a
did.
masked hero.
Yeah,
I
the
think he was
mascot. Yeah,
Spanish.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely rode a horse. And he had like a thin fencing like sword. In the
And a
beginning of
pen.
the show, they did like the Z with the sword.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was a big one for me.
That's
Is there a favorite? Is there like a go-to Halloween movie for Halloween? I know there's a lot of Christmas movies, but
like if
I
you're,
asked you what your best Halloween movie is, and then
yeah.
I had to answer the question myself. I don't have many good options.
Well, I was always a big fan of the actual Halloween movies, the Michael Myers movies. So I
Okay.
picked Halloween as my personal favorite. I feel like if you're a chick, the answer is Hocus Pocus, but I think
Yeah.
that's
I asked
terrible.
my wife this question today. She said, Hocus Pocus, what else is there? And I was like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't even need to ask MT. I knew that that would be her answer. I did ask her for her candy list, but I knew she would say Hocus Pocus, which is wrong. I think it's Halloween.
There you go. The only other ones I throw at you are I was never like a Mischief Night Rocky Horror Picture Show guy, but I mean I feel like that at least deserves mention. And I'll throw Coco out there for you, all you fathers with daughters. Great Pixar movie.
Mhm.
We move right along to our over under segment. Having an over under this year, as I tell you all the time, as a former morning radio producer, all of these segments are the same thing, but it's a different way to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
True or false, buy or sell, over. It's the same
I
thing.
didn't appreciate that until this podcast. Then I realized like
Yeah,
are all the same because
it's
everyone does
an
this.
industry secret for you there. But so we will do over under today. First one, Walsh beat you, Guru, by 42.64 points this week. However, that was not the biggest blowout of the season. Was the biggest blowout of the season by over or under 75 and a half points?
I'll be honest. I was planning to cheat and look this up and I forgot. So I'm gonna say under because that seems like a lot of points, but I don't know the answer.
You would be incorrect. It was over. Walsh beat Robbie by 81 points in week 6. And I don't know how. I think Hathaway and I did the podcast that week. I think we breezed right past it. 81 point defeat. And it should be noted that Robbie is no stranger to getting blown out. Also, no stranger to winning close games, apparently.
Crazy.
Last year, he lost by 70 points or more twice. And in 2021, Olivia Culpo fans only beat him by 104 points. So Robbie either gets blown out or wins close,
I
apparently.
haven't scored. I mean, has the whole band scored 104 points all year?
Maybe once, maybe
Yeah,
twice.
yeah. I haven't
We will
recently.
continue that theme for question number 2. What is the biggest defeat that you have ever suffered in the Sports Edge Fantasy Football League? Was it by over or under? Again, 75 and a half points.
I'm hoping for the sake of my credibility on this podcast, the answer is under. So I'm just going to go with under and pray.
You are not going to like this answer. The correct answer is over. And it was podcast nemesis Steve Curtis who beat
Oh
you by
no.
77 points
When?
13 years ago this week 8 of 2011.
Wow.
Yikes.
Yikes is
Yikes.
right. Yikes is
I
right.
if I was a real commissioner, I would have all this information at the tip of my fingers and have everyone's, fewest points scored, highest points scored, biggest margin of defeat, smallest number, but I don't have that, so I apologize. Number 3. How many times did you listen to or watch last week's 30 for 30? Over or under 3.5?
So this one, I think we should flip. I know the answer. So what do you think? Do you think it's over or under that I watched it through more than three and a
For
half?
you, I'm saying over.
It was under. I listened to it three times.
Oh,
Three times.
man.
So three and a
Okay.
half was a great line by you.
Okay.
Listened to it three
Somehow
times.
Vegas always
Absolutely,
knows.
absolutely hilarious. Fantastic.
Wow. Haven't heard from Hathaway on that yet,
Yeah.
surprisingly.
Yeah.
Crickets on that one, I guess. All right, number 4. How many wins will the 6th seed in the playoffs have at the end of the regular season? Over or under 6.5?
I went over, but I actually think it's going to be 7. I looked at it. I think 6.5 was a good line. I think 7 is going to be the number that gets you in. So I'm going to go over, but barely. I think that's the right line.
It is the right line because last year Kess got in with 6. I think the year before Kess got in with 7. Kess
Okay.
has been the 6th seed in back-to-back years. For whatever reason, I think it's gonna be over. Like I think we have a bunch of teams right there that are 4-4. I think
Yeah.
you're gonna need to win at least 3 to get in. This answer might actually be 8. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean,
But
there's
with
a lot of
Hoban
weeks
being
left.
so bad, there's more wins out there that get pushed to the top.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a lot of weeks left, and we've got, like you said, 3 teams at 4 wins, another at 3. So you got to think 3 or 4 more wins for some of those teams. Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that's an over for sure,
I
which
agree.
would have all my guesses at an over so far. I guess I didn't really guess the first 2 because I came up with the questions. Finally, what year will Hoban make his return to the playoffs? Now, this over-under is going to be hard to kind of compute, but if I set the line at the 2025 season, which would be next year, would you go over that or under that?
So obviously, if the answer's over, then he's not making the playoffs next year, and it's at least taking him till the final.
2026. Yeah.
So I said over. I don't think it's that
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. Yeah.
I put at least 2 seasons. That was a little mark that I wrote down. I think
I
it's
think
got to
my
go
note here that
next
I
2 years.
didn't write down is that I don't think he's ever gone more than 3 years without making the playoffs.
Hmm.
And he missed the playoffs last year. He made the playoffs in 2022. So he could miss the playoffs this year and next year and then 2026. So yeah, I think over is pretty safe there because he's got a long way to go.
So, too.
And we also have a long way to go. We're just past the halfway point. We got 6 weeks left. Teams are bottled up there in the middle. You and I play each other this week. Do you have a quick thought on our matchup before we depart?
I, I mean, I can't believe that Anthony Richardson's benched. It's just that was painful. I was
I saw you went to Jameis. Is Jameis starting or oh no, you're starting Tua. I saw
starting to. I went ahead and
you have
picked up.
a couple stacks going against me here.
Yeah, yeah. I picked up Tua. I've got Jameis. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to start. I mean, I'm gonna start a lot of these young receivers and hope. I blew it not starting Tillman last week, although it probably didn't matter. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like I can't believe the depths that my team has gone to very, very quickly. It went from a very
Yeah.
promising season to struggling to make the playoffs.
Well, with us facing up this week, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about next week. Thanks as always for doing this, Guru.
Thank you for setting it up.
You got it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and good luck to all of you except the Guru in